Hello again, and welcome to this second and final video recorded in early August on the question of the economic outlook for law firms.
For our listeners, perhaps we move on to our second topic of what the economy for lawyers is looking like. And perhaps let me just kick off with this in that I think all of us have been surprised how well law firms have done over the last year against the background of the pandemic. For a variety of reasons, which we've rehearsed in these discussions before. It's now, what's our view in terms of what's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months? From my perspective, I'm seeing still the scare stories and valid scare stories probably over the changes in the forthcoming budget, which might be postponed as per the latest. There might not be a budget in October, November. But the scare stories about inheritance tax and capital gains tax going up significantly. And I'm personally seeing that as a driver for businesses wanting to do deals. What are the rest of us seeing, and what do the rest of us think the economy is going to be doing?
Well, one of the things that I do with several clients is I monitor their monthly performance, but the first thing that I monitor is their incoming work. And over the last few months, I've had to modify my analysis to separate out residential property from the rest. Because if you look at the numbers of incoming matters, there's been such a surge in residential property that it's carried everything on it like the tide. And what I've been seeing is just a slow and steady ebbing of the rate of inflow of work. And certainly July seems to have been pretty soft in a number of places. And the other thing which I have seen across a number of firms over the course of the last year is a chipping away at work in progress levels, which makes me think that fee earners have probably been making sure they're busy doing the work that's available in front of them, but not necessarily getting out and bringing the work in. So I don't know if it's just the nature of the kinds of firms that I work with, but I'm nervous about the second half of this year.
Interesting. Nigel, what about you?
Well, I'm listening to Barry intently because we work in very similar spaces, although with different skills. And I think of the couple of the firms that I work with quite closely, I think their experience is not dissimilar to what Barry's picking up. In fact, just had one firm send through its end of month figures to me this morning. And it's the first slightly disappointing month since late summer last year. And part of that will, of course, be a reduction in res prop going through, albeit slight. But the pipeline of res prop work, I don't know whether you've seen that, Barry, whether that's showing any signs of slowing up yet.
Well, it's funny. I was doing some modelling this morning with a client, and one thing which is tricky at the moment in getting to grips with the data in a lot of conveyancing firms is they haven't actually been able to tidy up and close files because they've been so busy working on. So a little bit nervous about the data, but it looks as though the pipeline is starting to drain.
Yes, I think so.
The amount of files open, will now last for 3 or 4 months rather than the 5 or 6 months that it would have done even a few weeks ago.
I'm sharing your nervousness, Barry. I'm seeing what feels to me like a slight excess of excitement out there, and I'm not so sure the work will back that up between now and the winter.
Mark, what about you?
Yes, I think there's also an element that work normally slows down in the summer anyway. So we're now in August, and certainly anybody who did resi conveyancing was going to be snowed under. People I'm talking to haven't said they're lacking work at the moment. So, I don't think that I'm wondering whether it's just that slight, we've got over that resi hump for people who did it. And then we're just getting into the, end of July, August, people are going away, stuff slows down. In terms of where it goes, it's difficult. I said to you earlier that we sat here confidently a year ago making all sorts of exciting predictions as to what the economy was going to do, and were spectacularly wrong on all of them. And that sort of given me a certain reticence to sort of guess where we might go. People
That's never stopped you before, Mark.
Yeah,
Why
true.
should it stop you now?
Now you come to mention it. But I'm not getting a feeling as to where it's going. People are going back to work. Everything, the economy, from my, now I've started going out and about again, which is very exciting. Restaurants are full, there's traffic on the roads, the shops are full, so people are spending money. So the economy is beginning to open up. And as we've said all along, there's people who are probably, those people who've been fortunate enough to maintain jobs have actually got disposable income now. The thing that's interesting is building materials are in really short supply. And the price is going up dramatically of them. If you want bricks or wood or nails or all that stuff, it's there. So overall, the economy, I think, is looking good. Now, as to whether it falls over at some point, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to boom wildly, but I'm not pessimistic.
I'm perhaps on the other end of the spectrum. I think it's going to boom. We talk about shortage of materials. I've got a couple of big construction company clients. They can't get hold of materials. Concrete, for example, there's no concrete because HS2 has hoovered it all up. Timber prices have gone up massively. There's no labour for construction companies or the hospitality sector. Partly the B word, although no one seems to accept that Brexit has had an effect on the availability of labour, but I'm sure that is the case. And perhaps I'm lucky. Pretty well every client I'm talking to has got spare cash on their balance sheet and they don't know what to do with it, to the extent that I'm helping them get it out as part of succession planning. So I'm feeling very much more buoyant, and I think we're going to bounce back significantly over the next few months. Whether that'll apply to lawyers, no, it's bound to. It's bound to.
I think that the law tends to reflect the economy generally. If the economy is buoyant, law is good. Certain parts of law are counter-cyclical as well. If the economy is bad, then people are a bit more keen on debt collect and everything else.
Well, but surely there must be some catching up shortly in litigation from the areas where there's been the moratoriums, the property litigation and so forth. You would expect there to be more of that kind of work. I would think there's still regrettably more work in probate to come, because the last year the work didn't come through. It didn't turn into fees because of delays at the probate registry and so forth. So there's still some catching up to do there. So there are areas where you would expect the work, but as I said, I'm not seeing it come through in the matters open. Although I mean, there may be things within the sector. One of the things I was talking to managing partner of quite a reasonable sized and very switched on firm that has clearly got its marketing right and got its online positioning right and is steaming ahead. So I'm wondering whether some of the medium-sized firms, smaller firms, are finding that the old methods of marketing are being beaten, and may be that it's just that segment that is suffering a bit disproportionately.
Well, thank you all. I think we're getting to the end of our allotted time. Thank you for your considered views. It'll be interesting to see how well, we've got a good choice there in that one of us is bound to be right. So thank you for your views, and to our listeners once again, thank you very much for watching, and watch out for another Mosaic Coffee Break coming to a laptop near you shortly. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you all.
Bye.